Hello and welcome to History for Weirdos.
We're your hosts, Andrew
and Stephanie,
and we're going to take you on a journey into the strange, obscure, and relentlessly entertaining corners of human history.
Now listen up, friends, because it's about to get weird.
Weirdos, welcome back to yet again another episode of the History for Weirdos podcast.
It's been a little while.
It has been a little while.
Well, for us, it feels like a while since we last recorded.
That's true. The last time we recorded was almost a month ago.
Yeah.
By this time, which is kind of crazy. And since it's been such a long time, just want to give you guys a quick overview of how this episode is going to be. We want to go over a little bit of some of the recent news that has happened. Mm-hmm. I was going to say good and bad, mainly bad.
Yeah.
And then also we did go to Italy, and this is our first time recording since we've gone to Italy, so we can talk about that. And then Stephanie has an incredible episode lined up for you guys.
Yeah, I think that's a good overview of what we should expect today.
Absolutely. So first things first, the world is in disarray and chaos, I feel like. And if you feel just overwhelmed by just the idiocy of our government, of other governments
in the world,
just how, like, to be honest, how evil they are. One in particular comes to mind. You're not alone. We feel it too, and we've had, I think, a lot of time to think about it and just try to process what has happened, what is happening right now in Palestine with the attacks in Iran, on Iran. It's heartbreaking.
And what's happening here at home?
And what's happening here at home
with the ICE raids, which recently affected our community here in LA as well.
Exactly.
So things have, when you talk about everything going on in Palestine, it's been happening for a long time now. But I think, like you said, we were processing, and I feel like we've been at a loss for words.
Yes.
For so long, because what's the right thing to say? And I don't think and then things just keep getting worse.
They do.
So it feels like there's less and less of a right thing to say. And we were talking about it before we recorded. We just really wanted you all to know that we see what's going on too, and we care, and we're right there with you. I think connecting in community right now is one of the more healing things we can do, because then it reminds us that we can hopefully make changes.
Absolutely. And I know the No Kings protest that just happened the weekend prior to this recording was the largest protest in American history. So if you went out there you were marching, you were participating in history. So we usually talk about history, not making it. So that is really cool.
We were at our local one.
Yeah.
And we know, I know I've seen from stories and stuff that a lot of weirdos were at their local ones, all over the world, actually, all over North America, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And yeah, I think that brings up a good point. We tend to share more resources for support and more news updates on our Instagram.
Yes. Thank you.
If you're just curious as to where to find those things, I think Instagram is a good place to get more real time updates and thoughts from us.
Absolutely. Instagram is the place to go. You heard it here from Stephanie.
Yeah. And if any of you weirdos feel like there is something that would really benefit people in this community who I know care, because you care about history, so you care about people and you care about what's happening right now. If there's anything that would largely benefit this community, please feel free to share with us, and we'd be happy to share with all the weirdos.
Absolutely. So well said. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, love.
And then the next thing was, our Italy trip. Much more fun.
Yeah. We haven't checked in with you all since our trip.
Yes, it was such a blast. We got to spend 2 days in Rome again, which is kind of like a bonus part of the trip, because we were there for my brother's wedding. Mm-hmm. And so we did that. We also went to Pompeii, which I had never been to. And Stephanie, this was the first time you had been in over a decade.
Yes, and I believe we saw an entirely different part than I saw when I went with Professor Gerval, because it's so big.
Yes,
you can go
huge.
in through so many entrances and exits. So we did 2 days in Rome, 1 day in Pompeii, and then a week in the Amalfi.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah. Can I say what I didn't like?
Absolutely, please.
To get in and out of the Amalfi.
Oh my God.
It is the windiest. This sounds so absurd that I'm complaining about the Amalfi, but
right.
For people who've never been, it is like a narrow road that winds for hours in and out. Like it's like 2 hours of just winding roads on a cliff edge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's traffic going both ways, but the road definitely doesn't look like it fits traffic going both ways.
It's like made for one
car.
One way. Yeah.
One car, one way. Going really slow would be ideal, but it's many cars going many ways. Quickly. So getting in and out of the Amalfi was actually a huge drag because I got really, and most people in our group mentioned they got really, really nauseous.
Oh my God. Yes. It was insanely windy. Like I can't like emphasize that enough.
You just started like back and forth. I
mean, getting there and leaving, I got really nauseous.
So where we were was like a small town, I guess. It's Praiano.
Furore.
In Furore, which I guess is even smaller. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no sidewalk. We shared on our Instagram like pictures like
yeah.
So to get in and out of the villa, we had to just like walk on this teeny windy road. We
were just like,
so it wasn't very walkable. And
no.
We were like, what? How do we get in and out? One day we all took water taxis.
Yes.
In and out, which was really fun.
Yeah, they picked us up like at the villa because it was on a cliff on the Mediterranean, and they just picked us up.
We just had to jump off the little cliff into the water taxi.
Yeah.
With like I don't know what you did or what all the manly men did, but I basically like hugged the driver. I was like, carry me.
We like bro hugged.
I like jumped into his arms. I was like, you better catch me.
Oh my God. He's going to die now. I didn't see that.
Yes, you did.
Oh yeah, maybe I did. Yeah, I did. I was just like, please don't die.
Yeah.
I was okay with that.
So the water taxi is a really cool concept. They even took us into these really beautiful little like grottos near where we were.
Yeah.
That was so cool, but it's an expensive way to get around.
It is.
And we did that to Positano, which was also very crowded and really pretty, but again, like on the side of a cliff. I think I still can't as you can hear, weirdos, I can't wrap my head around how difficult it was to get from one place to another.
Yeah, I didn't like that about the Amalfi. Like, it was beautiful, don't get me wrong.
So beautiful.
I don't think we will ever go back, if I'm being completely honest.
Unless there's something we don't know about, like an easier way.
Right.
To move around the different towns, different beaches, because especially for us Americans, especially for Angelinos.
Yeah, beaches. What beaches?
What we love about going to Europe is how typically walkable it is. Mm-hmm. And this was the opposite of that. It wasn't even drivable.
Yeah, it was like less walkable than where we live. And I was like...
So that was rough. And I wanted to share that because I think we tend to share highlight reels of travel and make travel sound like really easy and fun and glamorous. But this was tough.
Yeah.
There were like really tough parts to the trip. But besides that, of course, you're in Italy, so we never had a bad meal.
Every single meal was just delicious.
It was so good. Everyone was so lovely and nice and patient with us and appreciative of our feeble attempts at Italian.
Yeah, they were like, "Aw,
so cute.
Bless you."
I think one of my favorite things that we did was when we went swimming off the coast of Capri.
Oh, that was so much fun. That was beautiful. It was
freezing.
The water was so cold.
But it was definitely a core memory for me.
Yeah, definitely a core memory. Also, speaking of the trip, Juju and Juju's friend.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, we say hi.
Hi, Juju's friend. We didn't catch your name, but we were so honored and excited when Juju said, "Oh, my friend listens to your podcast." Like, that was such a cool feeling because it got to prove to everyone else on the trip that our podcast is real and people do listen to it.
Yeah, seriously.
So thank you. Thank you so much for that. And Juju, if you're listening, we don't know which number is yours in the group chat. So you need to text and say it's Juju so that we can save your number. Because we want to save your number, but we don't know which one's you. And we don't want to ask like, hey, who's Juju? Because we don't want to save everyone's number.
It sounds so bad.
But Juju was so cool. She was a family friend of the bride's.
Yeah.
She's a deadhead. She was just so fun and had the best lore. So Juju, reach out to us. Text us. Let us know how we can reach you. We miss you.
Yeah. Okay. And with that, Steph, I think it's time for the episode.
I think so. I will say one more thing. I keep reaching for your arm. And it reminded me of the comment that you said someone left recently.
Oh my God.
On one of our videos. Can you tell the folks what someone said?
You know, someone made the bright and incredibly insightful comment that Stephanie and I are too mushy.
I think it was mushy or affectionate.
Affectionate, yeah, with each other. And that they request that we not be so. And I'm like, buddy, you're new here. You must be new here.
No, I mean, I guess I just thought it was a funny comment because we're married.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you know what? You're right. Let me like completely just like rearrange the way I act towards you, how this show is structured, everything.
I don't think it affects the structure too much, but it would be such an effort for us to be like, oh, I don't want to upset anyone watching or listening. Yeah. So I'm going to interact with you differently. Because I feel like one of the best things about the show is that we talk to each other so easily.
Right, exactly.
Because we're best friends. We're at home right now. Like,
yeah. I mean, of course we're going to be affectionate with each other. Like, we're married.
But it also makes me think, like, what were we doing? Because we were at Spotify too, right? Yeah. In that video?
We weren't even next to each other like we are right now.
Yeah.
We were across the room. So it really didn't make sense.
It must have been a lot of words of affirmation. We do that.
That's true.
We do affirm each other a lot. We're like, that was so smart, babe.
Yeah.
Babe, you did that beautifully. So maybe that was it. Maybe that gets annoying. But even if it gets annoying, I'm sorry. That's not changing.
Yeah, we're not changing. So sorry, we're not sorry. Okay. Now, Stephanie.
Now.
You have a killer episode, and I really want to hear it.
We are going to be talking about Queen Christina of Sweden.
Oh, lovely.
She is a very iconic queen for lots of reasons. One of them being, and I will get into it more, that she was actually a king.
She was the queen that was king.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fascinated.
So this is a little intro about our subject for today. She was crowned as a child, educated like a prince, not a princess, and ruled one of Europe's rising powers. But just when the world thought they had her figured out, she made a decision that stunned everybody.
Oh, baby.
This is the story of Queen Christina of Sweden. Brilliant, bold, complex, and a royal weirdo.
I love it.
So, Queen Christina was born December 18th, which makes her...
a Sagittarius.
Yes, a Sagittarius. I'm glad he's finally getting it.
I mean, yeah. Like 10 years ago, I would have never said that.
I am also a Sagittarius, December 14th. This is December 18th, 1626, so a little before my time.
Slightly.
She was born in Stockholm to King Gustavus Adolphus and Queen Maria Eleonora of Brandenburg.
Cool. Oh, Gustavus Adolphus. I actually know him.
You do?
Know of him. I mean,
you've met him before?
Yeah.
You really have heard of him?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's a cool name, Gustavus Adolphus.
I know.
Very cool. So she's born to Swedish royalty during a time when Europe is actually being torn apart by war. Not great. Her father, Gustavus Adolphus, was a legendary warrior king, and he made it clear that he wanted his daughter to inherit the throne should anything happen to him. And I should say, Christina is the only living legitimate child for King Gustavus Adolphus.
Okay.
So he has bastards.
Bastards.
All over the place, probably. And unfortunately, him and his wife lost children, like in infancy or in childbirth. So she's their only surviving legitimate child. And he's like, I don't care that she's a girl. I'm super stoked because she's alive. And
because she's alive and she's not a bastard.
She's not a bastard. So we're just going to pretend she's a prince. okay, guys, we're just going to pretend she's a prince and we're going to raise her like one. That was the strategy.
I like it.
And that's exactly what happened. So at only 5 years old, Christina inherited the kingdom because her father was killed during a battle of the 30 Years' War.
Yeah.
In 1632. So Sweden had not had a queen since the 14th century, like a reigning queen.
Wow.
And technically, queens were not allowed to reign on their own. So at her coronation, she was actually named king. She was
I love that.
King Christina.
King.
Isn't that so silly?
That's so silly. Like, it's so absurd.
It's frustrating to me because I realized that they did that because they're like, oh, we're like making an exception for her.
Right.
And we don't want other queens to think they can rule. But it's also silly, so I like it. It's whimsical.
I will say it is whimsical.
Yeah, I'll go with it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Christina, her mom, Maria Eleonora, it sounds like she had some mental health struggles, especially when the king died. Like, I think she had pre-existing stuff going on, but when the king died, she started acting extra weird. She did stuff like she demanded that his body remain unburied and in the castle in an open casket so that she could visit him. And so the corpse remained in an open coffin for 18 months.
Oh, man, girl, that's nasty. That's nasty.
They weren't embalming people then in this part of the world. So as you can imagine, that was really...
stank.
It was stinky.
It was stinky.
That was really unpleasant and grotesque. And it was really disturbing to people at court. So one day, a chancellor had the royal guard secretly bury the body behind her back.
I think they kind of made the right choice there.
Oh, yeah. Because they were like, this is so disturbing. Just, someone distract her.
I mean, I feel like it's almost like an insult to his memory. I know that's not how she meant it, but that's pretty nasty.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a very dignified way to rest.
Thank you. Yes. It's not a dignified way to rest.
Sadly, even more, apparently, from the moment Christina was born, her dad was super stoked. Apparently, they thought she was a boy when she was born because, quote, her body was hairy and her cry was hoarse. But then they quickly saw that she was a girl. And her dad made a joke of like, she's going to be really clever then because she's already, fooled us all once.
Oh, that's kind of sweet.
And he was really happy that she was born. He didn't care that she was a girl. But her mom was disappointed that she was a girl. And so her mom was really indifferent towards her. Until the king died. And then Christina was going to be king. And then she was all of a sudden like a doting mother.
Interesting how that works. So it seems that the king had worried that stuff like this might happen because before his death, like before he went off to battle thinking he might die, he wrote in his will that if something should happen to him, he actually wanted his sister to raise Christina, not his wife. Oh, wow.
And he wanted his brother to act as her regent. Again, not his wife.
Interesting.
Well, Maria Eleonora was not having that when she heard what was going to happen. She tried to ban her sister-in-law and her brother-in-law from the castle, but that backfired because she ended up being exiled instead. And then they gave her limited supervised access to Christina from then on.
I think that's wise.
It sounds like it. I didn't dig too deep into this woman's behavior, but it does seem like the reports are really consistent that she was unstable.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But let's back up a little bit more.
Okay.
And go back into Christina's upbringing as a prince, not a princess. So most royal girls in the 1600s were trained to stand up straight, smile, sew, maybe speak a few languages, play an instrument, arrange flowers, and just look pretty to get the most politically advantageous marriage possible.
Right.
Not Christina. Her father insisted, like I said, that she be educated like a prince, and even after he died, the court followed through with that. She studied philosophy, theology, literature, and science alongside all male tutors. She learned how to debate, how to strategize. She learned things about leadership. And she reportedly read ancient texts before breakfast, which I thought you'd appreciate.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. One of her tutors said, quote, "She is not at all like a female," and that she, quote, "had a bright intelligence," because at this time it was believed, allegedly, genuinely believed, not, I mean, it's propaganda, but it was believed that women were of inferior intelligence, that they would be incapable of learning things like philosophy and math.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
In the 1600s, yeah. In Europe. Mm-hmm.
I guess it makes sense.
Yeah. It's a way, of course, to keep someone under your thumb if you say this whole group is inferior to me.
Right, exactly.
So that was meant to be a compliment, even though that sounded like a really backhanded compliment.
That was a big time backhanded compliment.
Mm-hmm. She was, despite the backhanded compliment, she was exceptionally intelligent. She was fluent in multiple languages, including Latin, French, German, and Italian. That would have been handy on our trip.
I know. She should have swung along.
Right? Allegedly, she'd sleep for only about 3 or 4 hours a night because she was so driven to constantly study.
Oh.
She just wanted to read, write, and correspond with other people.
Oh, that's adorable.
Right?
Yeah.
She loved actually exchanging letters with intellectuals of the era. One of her faves was René Descartes.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And a quick little reminder here for folks. René Descartes was a French philosopher, scientist, and mathematician. He's often referred to as the father of modern philosophy, and he's best known for the philosophical statement. Hold on, I'm going to say it in French and then see if you can guess what it is.
Okay.
Je pense, donc je suis. Je pense, donc je suis.
I think, therefore I am.
Yes, you got it. That's really good.
Thank you. I to be honest, I just remembered René Descartes. I didn't I didn't translate the French. But
it doesn't matter.
The end I did actually. I was like, "Oh, I am." Therefore, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, there we go." I think
okay.
Therefore I am.
You
so
used
it's
both.
I guess a little bit of both.
It's a little bit of both.
There we go. I'm giving myself a little bit of credit there.
But you know what's kind of a bummer?
What?
Is so Christina was like a big Descartes stan, and she was like, "Come and hang out with us, like we're the coolest." And he goes to Stockholm to visit her, and he dies of pneumonia.
Oh my God.
She brought like to her like a rock star to court, and then he died visiting her because he caught pneumonia.
Oh my God.
That's so sad.
That is really sad. Sorry.
But it's kind of funny.
It's funny, but it's really sad.
But it's sad. Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to move a little bit more into her time as ruler, as regent. Both.
Right? Regent, yeah.
So she officially began ruling Sweden in 1644 at the age of 18. I should say, I'm sorry, to Descartes. He died in 1650. So into her reign is when she invites him over and he dies. So she was stepping into power after the chaos of the 30 Years' War.
Yep.
And a lot of other contemporary monarchs at this time really clung to religious rigidity to feign stabilization to the people, right? They kind of cracked down on being very dogmatic with faith to get people in line and be like, see, everything's okay. Here's this thing that we all know. This will keep us in line. And she was like, nah, I don't want to do that. She ruled a Lutheran nation.
Yes.
But she openly promoted religious tolerance and, as she put it, intellectual openness, which was a really rare approach for the time.
Very rare.
She wanted people to ask questions, to participate in whatever faith they wanted to participate in.
Oh, trailblazer.
Mm-hmm. And her progressive stance wasn't just symbolic. She was really instrumental in brokering the Peace of Westphalia.
Yes.
Have you heard of it?
I have heard of that.
Mm-hmm. In 1648, this was a landmark diplomatic effort that helped end the war and redefine the map of Europe. And as a result of her role in this, Sweden emerged as like a powerful player on the world stage.
Yeah, and they'd have like their moment here.
Yes, they have a big moment, and it's largely because of her. Because at home, again, she really did promote this sort of intellectual openness, and she turned her court into a flourishing hub of art, science, and philosophy. She saw culture as a form of power, and she wanted Sweden to be, this is what she wrote in her diary, the Athens of the North.
Oh,
that's so cute.
That's so cute. Kind of reminds me of Alexandria, right? And in one of your very recent episodes, you talk about how Alexandria was like a center of intellectual rigor of like the ancient world.
And that is a form of power that I think a lot of people, at least in modern times, underestimate.
Absolutely. If
you are creating the books that everyone is studying, like, you control a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. She amassed an enormous personal library. She collected rare art. She welcomed artists to like come and be inspired. She had thinkers, like big thinkers from all over coming to...
They do the big thinking.
They were doing the big thinking. Coming to like thank and talk and stuff. Listen to this. I thought this was amazing. In 1649 alone, she procured 760 paintings, 170 marble and 100 bronze statues, 33,000 coins and medallions, 600 pieces of crystal, 300 scientific instruments, manuscripts, and books.
Oh my God.
To Stockholm.
She was a busy bee that year.
She had a big year.
Yeah, that's huge.
All of those things, these are things from all over history, from all over the world. She was like, bring it. I want it in Stockholm.
Oh, that's sick.
Right?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I feel like I would get along with her. I think we both would.
I'd show her like, hey, I have these 2 Roman coins. What's up?
She'd be like, those are mine now, actually.
Those are mine.
We are the Athens of the North. So as we could see, she was an independent free thinker, which made her like a cultural force. Like, everyone was talking about her. Mm-hmm. But that also makes you a target.
Yeah.
People don't like it.
Especially she's a woman too, in a world that she's gaining a lot of power where everyone else also is gaining a lot of power, right? You have like, well, I guess the Spanish are kind of like going on, they're on the way down at this point.
A little bit, yeah.
But the English are definitely on their way up. And the same with the French as well.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, there's a big power shift in general.
Absolutely.
Well, not only was she a woman that was doing big thinking, which you're not supposed to do, she dressed in men's clothes.
Oh, yeah.
She slouched. She cursed. She spoke casually, not to both high and low-born humans.
Oh my goodness.
Imagine.
I'm clutching my pearls.
And I actually think this might have been one of the biggest faux pas. She didn't groom her hair. You know how you always see ladies of that era in like very ornate hairstyles?
Yeah.
You look up pictures of her and she's got just like, I think we have similar hair texture where it's not wavy, it's not curly, it's not straight.
It's something in between.
And you could tell homegirl hasn't brushed it in a long time. Oof. And it's just like a little poof ball. I've been there. And she had hair on her face growing.
That is really interesting.
Mm-hmm. You've seen the picture. It's not like she had like a beard, but she had like whiskers.
Okay.
Which women get.
Right.
At the time.
So it wasn't like my beard.
No, more like mine. At the time, many suspected, I don't know the word they would have used. I was looking at a modern source for this. People suspected that she was intersex. But
Wow.
her private journals and her doctor's private journals, which we have access to, no HIPAA.
Yeah.
They refute this. She was not intersex. Historians actually think she probably had PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's what it sounds like. She probably had painful symptoms. There's a lot of cysts on your ovaries, and one of the side effects is facial hair.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Like all women have facial hair to a certain extent, but this would be like more noticeable.
Right.
So she likely had PCOS and was not intersex. But what does intersex mean? I'm glad you asked. I have the answer.
Oh, there you go.
According to Planned Parenthood, intersex is an umbrella term that describes bodies that fall outside of male-female binary standards. So this means that someone can be intersex for lots of reasons. It could be a difference in their organs, their genitals, their hormones, or even their chromosomes.
Yeah, no, I knew that. It's very rare, but it does happen.
It's very naturally occurring in humans throughout history.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was an interesting thing to put in there, that people were like, oh, like they had a word for it. Like, oh, is she this thing? Yeah, intersex. Because they did know about it, but she was not.
The more you know.
The more you know. We are going to talk now about her love life.
Lovely.
Or potential lack thereof, depending on how you look at it. So one of the most talked about aspects of her reign was, of course, because she's a girl.
She's a woman.
So everyone's like, who's she dating? Who is she in love with? Who's she going to marry? Blah, blah, blah. So boring, so basic. But people were obsessed with it.
Tell me how you really feel, Steph.
I just think there's so many. She was doing such interesting things.
I mean, yeah, that peace treaty is huge.
That's huge. But I'll be like, are you seeing anyone? Y el novio? She was really, really close to a noblewoman named Ebba Sparre, or maybe Sparre. I don't know how you pronounce it. Whom she affectionately called Belle, meaning beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The two even occasionally shared a bed. That's how close they were.
Oh, so they were just friends.
They were possibly cousins. Roommates.
Yeah. Sappho and her friend.
Sappho and her bestie, her best friend / cousin / sister.
Who we also did an episode on.
We did an episode on Sappho. So Christina would say of Ebba, and I quote, she would tell people this like at court, her intelligence is just as striking as her body.
Damn, she just straight up was saying it.
Yeah, she was.
Okay, so
she was hyping her girl up.
We can also assume she would be part of the LGBT community here.
Yes. I'm literally about to get to that. Yes. So I just want to also say when they weren't together, like in the same place, they wrote very intimate letters. Like it's nothing graphic. It's just like, I love you so much. You're the best. No, you're the best. Like these are all the things that I love about you. Ebba was known as the person that Christina loved the most. And they had both physical and emotional closeness that people didn't like at court.
That's not surprising.
They were like, this is not okay. And the note that I put here is our modern day language of being queer obviously didn't exist in the 17th century in Sweden. But we can assume that because of her more masculine presentation, her very passionate attachment to Ebba, that she would have fallen somewhere on the LGBTQ spectrum today. Like if she were alive today, she probably would identify as such. So she is seen as like a historical queer icon, an OG.
An OG.
OG. And what I love is that they didn't have language for it. And that's what bothered people, was they couldn't like really put a finger on it. And she didn't care.
She was like, whatever.
There's no evidence. Like I said, we have access to her diaries. Very private.
Yeah.
There's no evidence that she gave a shit about what anyone thought about her.
That's kind of awesome, though.
Yeah.
Well, it is. It just is awesome.
She was like, yeah, I know they want me to do these things, and I don't care.
She's like, I'm the king.
I'm literally the king.
Yeah.
So, and as she grew older, she of course faced mounting pressure to do what all royals do, get married and produce an heir, right?
Yeah.
She was not interested in any of the men at court. And her cousin, Charles, this is actually her cousin.
Charles.
He was super interested in her. He was like
sure.
obsessed with her, probably because she had the crown.
Yeah.
And so Christina knows at one point that he's about to go off to serve the Swedish army in Germany. And she finally is like, sure, I'll marry you when you get back from Germany.
Oh my God, amazing.
And he's like, yes. And the nobility were like, yes. Everyone was so happy. Like, finally, she's going to marry her cousin. Thank goodness. It's not a woman. It's her cousin.
She's just keeping it in the family.
Yeah, she's keeping it in the family. That's what we wanted. But they all had no idea what was coming next.
Okay, let's hear it.
On June 6th, 1654, in a carefully staged ceremony in, I'm sorry to all the Swedish listeners, Uppsala.
Uppsala.
Do you know Uppsala?
I know Uppsala. Wow. It was important for the Vikings, the pagans.
Well, in Uppsala, Queen Christina got everyone together and was like, we're going to have a big ceremony. I have a huge announcement to make. She voluntarily abdicated the throne.
That's crazy.
She gave it up and she's like, you know, Charles, how I said I was going to marry him? He's my heir. He can take it.
That's kind of smart, though. Especially if she didn't really want to rule. If she was kind of like over it.
Isn't that interesting?
That's really interesting.
It gets weirder, though. You'll see.
Okay.
It gets weirder on that train of thought.
I mean, it is history for weirdos, after all.
Yeah. So officially, she like proclaimed that like, oh, like your queen is like suffering, you know, very ladylike actually, to suffer poor health from like the stressors of ruling and oh, I can't do it anymore. I'm going to like faint type of thing.
Right.
So that's what she told everyone. But what most people didn't know was that in reality, it was because she was converting to Catholicism.
Oh, snap. I know a little something about that.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That's wild.
She wanted to be a Catholic so bad, and she couldn't be a Catholic queen of Sweden.
Right.
So it was like a move of faith. And it was very, very scandalous. Because, so no one knew at first, but the following year, in the Austrian city of Innsbruck, she was formally received into the Catholic Church, which stunned Protestant Europe. Her conversion was a big deal because at this point, there's like the Reformation, the Counter-Reformation. Everyone's fighting sides over like Protestantism and Catholicism. And the Catholic Church is losing the war, right? So for the Catholic Church, every soul was seen as a victory, but a queen...
Yeah, especially a queen from Northern Europe.
Like, that was such a big win for them.
Yeah, because that, like, Northern Europe is like a stronghold of Protestantism.
Yes.
Like, Northern Germany, Northern Europe, big one.
Yeah.
Big stronghold.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild, actually.
Isn't that? And also so surprising.
It's very surprising. Did you find out why? Like, what drove this?
In her study of history.
Oh.
She fell in love with Catholicism and, like, the history behind it. And
I wonder if it was, like, Constantine and...
I wonder, yeah. She just was more drawn to it, and I think she liked the ceremony of it.
You know what's really funny?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, speaking of Catholicism, but I heard this cardinal was he was standing next to the current Pope Leo,
mm-hmm.
and he was looking out, and he saw the Circus Maximus, he saw the Palatine Hill, and he was like, and he kind of remarked, he's like, I think it's so interesting that like over there basically is where the where like Christians used to be martyred, and how, and you know, Catholics basically, and how like the Caesars, you know, where they lived is now gone, and like, you know, basically saying like we're the successors, but it was in like we're the successors of Caesar. And I find that actually kind of ironic, because I was like, Caesar was literally the Pontifex Maximus.
The Pope.
So the Pope is actually the successor to Julius Caesar.
Yeah.
In a certain way, because the Pontifex Maximus predated Christianity by at least 700 years, possibly up to even 1,000 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it predates the city of Rome.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild.
It's an ancient title.
Yeah, and I just thought that was so funny. I'm like, no, he is the successor to Julius Caesar, to Augustus even. Both Pontifex Maximuses.
Maybe that's what Christina thought. And she was like, dude, this is it. So then, of course, after converting to Catholicism, where do you think she went?
Rome.
She goes to Rome.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Literally, as I was writing, I was like, I'm so jealous. But
Can I just be like a king of some like country and then be like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with this.
I'm just gonna move to Rome.
Yeah.
I was so jealous. I was like, oh, that's not fair.
You know she has the monies too.
You know she has the... You know the Catholic Church was like, you bring all that money over here, baby girl. You are the best Catholic ever. Just... bring your jewels, bring that art collection.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go.
She must have had quite an entourage to like carry all of that, you know?
I'm sure. So what's surprising here is, of course, she continues to be a patron of the arts and science and things like that. She's big into philosophy. She's rubbing elbows with like big people of the time.
Right.
That's not surprising. What is surprising is that while she's in Rome, Christina aims her sights on not one, but 2 thrones.
What?
Yes. Yes.
She's like, okay, I'm done being Queen of Sweden, but I'm not done being queen. Or I'm sorry, king.
King.
Yes.
Technically king.
This is wild.
So, there was an opportunity in the kingdom of Naples.
Ugh.
Because Naples is still a kingdom. Italy's not unified.
Right.
And there was political unrest there. Naples was under Spanish control at the time, but the people of Naples were like, what? No.
I mean, maybe Naples was nicer back then.
Maybe. So she secretly traveled to France and then the outskirts of Naples with the goal of positioning herself as the next ruler of the kingdom of Naples by getting French support.
This is wild.
She was hoping the Spanish would lose their grip and the French would just like place her there.
Right.
Her plans, however, were never supported by the French court.
Shocker.
And then she made enemies of the Spanish because they found out about what she wanted to do. They're like, what?
They're like, we hate you now.
What? That's not chill. Like, Catholic sister, what are you doing? So the plot fizzled on this one for her.
Unsurprising.
And her actions were seen as very controversial. Enough that she was also, after this, like, very, like, it's not even a coup, right? She, like, goes to France. She's like, okay, France, like, we're going to knock over Spain. You're going to put me there. And they're like, no. She's accused of then orchestrating the assassination of her own equerry. An equerry is a royal officer. Marquess Gian Rinaldo Mondaleschi. And she was like, they're like, we think you assassinated this guy because he knew the whole story.
Right.
And she was like, yeah, I executed him.
She's like, and?
He betrayed my plans. I don't see what I did wrong.
That's incredible.
Because she was raised like a prince.
Right.
She wasn't raised like a princess. She was raised like, you're going to be a king. You get to do whatever you want. So she was like, yeah, I did. I executed him. And then they were like, oh, okay. I thought you'd be more shameful of that.
And she's like, no.
He betrayed me. I killed him.
It kind of reminds me of that time in the Cold War where the Soviets, I think it was like the president of Thailand. I actually don't know the country, so I shouldn't say that. Mm-hmm. I don't remember which country it was. But
oh, yes. Yeah, I know what story you're going to say.
They got him like a few prostitutes.
Yeah.
And it was all recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And then they blackmailed
drugs, prostitutes,
out of
debauchery.
the whole thing. Mm-hmm. They recorded the whole thing, and then they showed it to him, and he said to the Soviets, can I actually get a copy? The people back home would want to watch this.
Wow.
And the Soviets were like, okay, well, I guess that goes our blackmail plan.
There goes our blackmail plan.
I just love that story so much because they must, like, the KGB agents must have been like, okay, we were not expecting this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
That was her. She's like,
that was her, basically.
I killed him. What does that bother you? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand the issue.
So that's her. Naples was her first attempt at getting a throne.
Oh my God, there's more. But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's a second attempt. So technically, Christina had Polish royal ancestry through her mom's side of the family.
Wow. Okay.
And she was like, I want the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth for me.
Dude, this must have been kind of because her mom was from Brandenburg, which is Germany. So this must have been like distant.
Yeah, it wasn't like direct. It was like technically like a grandparent or something, right?
Yeah.
But I will say to her credit, this time it was because King John II Casimir abdicated.
Oh, so she knows a little something about that.
Yeah. And she was like, he doesn't want it. I'll take it. So she lobbied for support from the papacy as well as the Polish nobility, presenting herself as a devout Catholic monarch who could bring political stability. I think that's a fair angle.
Yeah.
The Catholic Church has a lot of power. They want more Catholic monarchs, right?
Of course.
However, her candidacy was not taken seriously, partly because she was a woman. I'd say in large part because she was a woman.
Yeah.
And then they told her, they're like, oh, it's because you're a foreigner.
Yeah.
But that's not why. It's because
No.
she was a woman.
No, I mean, she could get away with it in Sweden because she was Swedish. She was born there, right?
Yes.
Raised Swedish.
Her father was like, I want her.
And her father was legendary in his own right. So
That's the next king.
Yeah.
I don't care. But this is.
But she can't be a Catholic monarch in Northern Europe. That just wouldn't happen.
It also made me sad to think that this is a woman who was socialized like a man. So she I don't know. It feels almost like she had a blind spot in seeing like, they're not going to want me because I'm a woman.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. No, I hear that.
Because she's like, but I'm like, I've already ruled. Like,
Yeah.
I've been a king.
Yeah.
I'm qualified for the job.
Like literally.
And they're like, no, we need someone with more experience.
Oh my God.
So instead, the Polish crown went to Michael I, whoever he is.
Michael.
I think he's from Poland, though, so that does make sense, too.
I mean, that makes sense.
Despite these failures, Christina actually never gave up on the fantasy, on the dream, on the hopes that she would one day return to power.
Oh.
She stayed ambitious for the rest of her life. It seems like she didn't want the Swedish throne for whatever reason.
She probably knew that they would never accept a Catholic monarch.
And she really wanted to be Catholic. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my guess too. But she hoped, I kind of see her logic. Like, okay, once I'm Catholic though, then the Catholic Church is going to want to support me. But she really underestimated the sexism of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, they would have only supported her in Sweden because they didn't already have that.
Because they didn't already have that.
Exactly.
And they would have supported her taking someone else's throne if she was a man.
Exactly. Yeah, that's also true.
And so, after a life of defiance and curiosity and just kind of like randomness, Queen Christina of Sweden passes away in Rome, lucky, on April 19th, 1689. She's buried beneath St. Peter's Basilica, an almost unthinkable resting place for any woman.
Yeah.
Let alone a foreigner, and let alone a former Protestant queen.
Yeah, that's wild.
So she really made an impression in Rome. She remains one of history's few female monarchs to voluntarily step away from the throne. And I really just love the fact that, to me at least, and how I've been socialized, I feel like she was raised like a boy would have been, but she used the power so much like what a woman would do, which was like, I want to invest in the community. I want to invest in the future. I want to invest in art and science and learning.
Yeah, not just going off and fighting stupid wars.
Yeah. So she seemed like kind of like a really, and she was like ambitious and decisive, and she just seemed like a really cool blend of the genders.
Yeah.
Very effortlessly.
Because she's intersex.
But she's not.
But she's not.
Probably just PCOS. And today, Christina is remembered not just as a former queen, but as a symbol of living life on your own terms. She lived between different eras, right? Like the time she was born was very tumultuous. She lived between different gender identities, and she lived constantly like just pushing off the expectations of others.
Oh, yeah.
And that is the story of Queen Christina of Sweden.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was such a wonderful story. I think it's so just fascinating when you have someone that voluntarily kind of steps down, right?
But then
she's like, but I want power again.
That's the thing.
And
she wanted power.
It is really odd. I would have loved to ask her questions about like what motivated her.
Yeah.
Because it seems so interesting. Like giving up power in the first place, it takes like a special type of person to do that. Especially someone who was raised to be like, well, yeah, of course you're going to be the next king. Mm-hmm. Right?
That's a big thing. Like, I really wonder if there was more behind the scenes that
there had to have been, right?
That maybe people weren't even like writing down, right? Because it was so like hush hush, like just conversations that were being had that we don't know about. Because yeah, like what a thing for your dad to do, to be like, I want my daughter to rule, and then to walk away from it. I think she really felt, which I want more women, you know this, I talk about this with you all the time, I want more women to be more selfish, or to, you know, what we say is selfish.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I want to be Catholic and I want to rule.
Yeah.
I want both, and I'm not going to settle for one.
Absolutely.
Like, she fought her whole life for both. She didn't get them, but I admire so much that she didn't make her dream smaller because other people wanted her to.
Absolutely.
So I think she was really cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice.
Well, I have all the sources, of course, are going to be in the show notes. There's some really good ones. I have a couple of really cool videos on here. One of the sources is the Catholic Encyclopedia from 1913.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That is kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Not kind of nuts. That is nuts.
So I hope you enjoyed that.
Well, I definitely enjoyed it. Weirdos, you know what to do by now, right? We've already said follow us on Instagram, so I'm going to say it again. Follow us on Instagram if you haven't done so already. Also, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, please give us like 5 stars. We would be fully indebted to you forever.
Give us 6.
Give us 6 stars.
7, 8.
Oh my God. You're going to break the algorithm. But if you're watching this as well, or I should say, you can watch this on Spotify and YouTube.
You can see us in our living room.
Yeah.
Hanging out together. Andrew's got a cool shirt.
That's right, baby.
My dress is really blue. You're welcome.
You're welcome. And with that, weirdos, adios.
Until next time, weirdos.